live from the Bronx. We're the podcast that celebrates Bronx creatives and change makers. I'm your boy KB.
What's going on, beautiful people? It is your boy Jay. Y'all already know. When y'all finish watching this, make sure y'all tell a friend to check us out.
Season 3, we are still here, and today we have a very special guest. We are rocking out with Diego, aka Dandy in the Bronx, menswear fashion content creator. Make some noise for Dandy.
Thank you so much for the kind intro. I appreciate it.
No doubt. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling fine and dandy, my friends.
We see what you did there. So we're actually excited. Jay and I talk about fashion all the time. Our fashion is very different, as you could probably see just looking at us.
I'm not offended. It's okay.
Yo, you know what's funny? I actually wanted us to throw on suits for this episode. Jay's like, no, we're not gonna do that.
You know what it is? I didn't feel like dressing up, but two, I don't have a haircut. I can't.
Can I get a quick shape up real quick? You don't got your guy on the.
I could, but there's a lot going on. Don't be putting me on blast.
Understandable.
And we're leaving this in the episode. But so we like to start our guests by asking them kind of how do they identify, right? So who are you and how do you identify? And again, you can answer as...
Of course, no, I completely understand. I appreciate that because I feel like that's very important to ask in this day and age, honestly. Well, I'm Diego Leon, Dandy in the Bronx, he, him, Latino, Latinx, depending on the conversation we're having. And from the Boogie Down Bronx, Hunts Point.
Nice.
I love that. So tell us a little bit about Hunts Point. What was your upbringing like? We'd like to always give our audience the opportunity to learn from guests, hear your life story. It's such a big part of our podcast because our goal is to change the narrative, right? So tell us about where you come from.
I appreciate that, trying to change the narrative, but it's honestly probably very stereotypical, honestly. My mom did not want me to go outside. My mom did not want me to go play outside in the streets. But then again, growing up in the Bronx, I didn't know that it was quote unquote a bad neighborhood. You know what I mean? Though I did not know that because this is just where I live. This is my neighborhood, whatever. It wasn't until I would go to other places where people would tell me oh, you live in the Bronx? And I'm like, what do you mean by that? I don't understand what's the connotation in that. I went to, my parents, sent me to Catholic high school pretty much all my life. I went to St. John Chrysostom in Hoe Avenue. Then I went to Cardinal Hayes in Grand Concourse. But your pretty typical upbringing, honestly. I did grow up as a big nerd, though. I did play a lot of Pokemon and Magic the Gathering growing up. I did sell Pokemon cards in the schoolyard. I did get in trouble from a couple of times from that, but pretty typical kid so far.
Yeah, that's dope. So I grew up not that far from Hunts Point, but along the 6th train on Brook Avenue in the Mount Haven area. So, for me, it was similar, right? It's a lot of what you hear, all the negativity, etc. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to start this podcast. And we'll jump a little bit later. We'll jump into how Hunts Point and the Bronx influence maybe your sense of fashion, etc. But one of the things that I think is dope about your story, right, it's that you kind of created your own career path, right? And yes, other people have done it, but coming from the Bronx, we don't always get to meet people that are doing that. We don't know that, I can become this content creator. I can be a fashion influencer. I can be, I don't know what the correct term is for Twitch, right? But you're killing it on Twitch, right? You're in all these different lanes. Most people think you go to Catholic school, right? If you go to Catholic school, you go to private school, right? You go off to college, you go get this nice career, etc. So I'm excited to dive into your story a little bit. Kev, I don't know if you wanted to add anything there.
Yeah, just wanted to, in terms of the story piece, so were you always fashionable, right? In the Bronx growing up?
I was never fashionable. No. I was never fashionable. I didn't know anything about fashion. Only very recently in my life that I made a conscious effort to, quote unquote, dress better. It wasn't until I became so I went to college to be a teacher. So I got my bachelor's in early childhood education. I have my master's in literacy education. So the whole plan was to be a teacher. And I, as a Latino male teacher, I wanted to show a good example to my kids. And I taught preschool. That was my entire thing. I wanted to teach preschool, early childhood education, because I feel that age group is the most important age group, that if you are able to, set those kids up right, they're set up for the rest of their entire life, So my kids at school, they were, Black Latinos, and I feel like they don't really see people like us, wearing suits, because they usually see other white people, wearing suits. So I want to show them like someone that looks like them, in this position of power, so to speak. And that's when I decided to learn how to dress myself. Because I used to wear these things called T-shirts. I used to wear those things before. Were you
ever like the 3XL T-shirt guy? And did you ever have that?
Dead ass. That was me. I didn't know how to dress myself. Honestly, it was my mom dressed me, and pretty much I don't know how to put things together. Like, to be honest with you, like, how does anyone learn how to dress themselves? Their parents usually dress them up.
Yep.
So I went on social media.
All right, so I'm gonna pause there really quickly. So you said you went on social media to kind of find out how to wear suits and stuff like that. What does that even look like?
Yeah, so back in the day, I just went on Google and I went on Tumblr, went on Instagram, just typed in like suits, #menswear, #navy suit. And I saw at the time other content creators. I didn't know there were content creators at the time. I was just like, why are these guys wearing suits? And I was like, all right, let me emulate that. Let me learn from that. Let me copy that. And, I would go to Banana Republic and like, all right, this is what this guy's wearing. Let me just do this. Let me do this, do that. Now, looking back then, obviously, I think my sizing, there were some sizing issues here and there. Things didn't fit perfectly, but I knew I was making an effort. I was wearing, a blue shirt, wearing a tie with like a jacket, some khakis. Like, I was just trying to present myself in a positive, manner to my kids because I want them to see me, a person of color, a person like them in this position of power, being their teacher.
Did your students react to that in any way? Did they ask you questions? Did they say, oh, I like that suit, I want to dress like that? Or were they like, oh, mister, what are you wearing?
No, because here's the thing, though. So at my school, what helped a lot, actually, was my kids were already wearing uniforms. Okay. So they're already wearing the stuff anyway. Yeah. But the cool part was I was adding little extra accessories to my outfits. I was wearing a tie bar. I was, pocket square, a little lapel flower or something. And I would remember one story that sticks out was when my kids came in wearing a tie bar. Like a little 3-year-old kid wearing a tie bar, and he's wearing it because he saw Mr. Diego wearing a tie bar too. So even though it's like a little teeny tiny microscopic little interaction there, who knows what other impact I had to other kids who maybe didn't show it outwardly like that, but, this is why we do this, to influence.
Yeah, let me tell you something funny about what you said when you started to look up menswear and suits and on social media, Google, etc. I started doing that too, right? So growing up, I didn't always, I didn't have money to like buy the things that I wanted. And I also had to wear a uniform for school, right? But dress down days, I didn't. It's like, I was wearing the same sneakers and boots or whatever from my uniform. Yeah. But when I really started to want to get into fashion, like streetwear a little bit more, and even like on suits, like when I dress up, I'm also same thing. I try to do the tie bar, I got the pocket square, but then learning, right, that like the socks gotta match the bow tie, right, or coordinate, right, is different. And so
thank you. These, I don't want to correct you, but
I'm glad you. I'm serious. It's real. Yeah. And so like, I used to go on Pinterest and social media sites too, and I still do this to this day to see what are people wearing, or I have an idea in my head, but I don't know how to put it together. Exactly. So I try to go see what somebody else is doing, and it's like, there's no shame in that. A lot of us want to be like, I don't want to copy this person or that person or what, but I'm like, dandy is fly. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to look at that shirt. I'm going to look at that blazer, right? And I'm going to see how I can add my own twist to it.
Exactly. And I think that's the exact point of all this. It's going to Pinterest, going to Instagram, finding these other content creators, these other fashion people, and then drawing inspiration from them. Or even, flat out copying. Like, if someone literally copied my look, that would be an honor, honestly. I'm doing something right. Like, please copy paste me. I would love that. Yeah. But obviously I want them to eventually evolve or eventually put their own spin to it. But nonetheless, if all you can do is just copy me, you're already doing a ton of work already there.
Yeah. Highest form of flattery.
Exactly.
All right, so take us through that. So you started dressing that way so that your students could see someone who looked like them wearing suits. And then how did this evolve into you becoming a content creator?
Yeah.
When did you leave education? Walk us through some of this.
So I started wearing the suits at school. Okay. And I started posting it on my own Instagram. I saw the other content creators at the time who were doing that. I was like, this is a thing. Let me just post my outfits anyway. I'm sure your friends post like, this is my drip for today. This is my look, whatever.
Jason does that.
So I said, okay, there you go. So I started doing that, very consistently.
Okay.
Posting my suits on Instagram. Then I started doing it so much that my friends started seeing me as like, oh, like Diego, he wears suits all the time. Like he knows what he's talking about at least.
As you're doing this, are you thinking like this is a career path, or this is still
no,
just?
No. This is just me. Like
I
like, yeah, I'm just wearing suits, and it just made it part of my aesthetic.
Nice.
You know, so like I would go to the bar, dressed up this way. I would go to shows dressed up like this way. So like this just became me, and I liked it because this is like I felt good about it. I felt comfortable in it. And one day, a brand slid in my DMs. They were like, yo, hey, Diego, we love your account. We'd love to send you a free tie. And I was like, at the time, I was like, oh, yeah, I would love a free tie.
You're like, I'm winning.
Yeah,
I've won.
Yeah. But they didn't send that tie because they liked me. They sent that tie because they saw I had an audience. They saw people were looking at my account. Then that's how I learned about something called influencer marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't send that tie just because they're like, oh, what a cool guy, let me send them a tie.
Yeah.
They saw their opportunity. They saw a chance to basically make me an advertisement. By me wearing their tie, I'm low key doing a commercial for them. I'm doing an advertisement for them.
Did you notice though at the time when they sent you the tie? Like, are you thinking this, or is this something that like you started to think about as you got deeper into the influencer world?
At the first time it happened, no. I thought it was like, this is a really cool thing. This really cool brand. I followed them already on Instagram. They make menswear. I like their stuff, and they reached out to me to send me a free product, and I was like, whoa, what an honor. This is super duper cool.
Yeah.
But then as I kept doing this, I started noticing patterns, and then I was able to put the links together that they're not saying that tie necessarily out of goodwill.
They're getting something out of
capitalism, baby. So they're sending that tie because they have a marketing chance to expose their brand to the audience that I am cultivating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So after that I realized oh, this is a thing. This is a job. Someone's out there, DMing people to send them product. This is something people do. So I wanted to learn more about it.
Yeah.
So I took some classes over the summer for digital marketing to learn more about what goes behind the scenes, Facebook ads, Google ads, all that stuff. So I took a summer of classes for that. And then I decided, let me take a break from teaching. Let me spend a year dabbling in this. Worst case scenario, I go back to teaching, and I'm kind of interested in this. Obviously back then, teaching didn't pay very well. So it's hey, let me experiment. Worst case scenario, go back.
Back then and currently?
Yeah, spoiler.
Well, teachers get, only because I worked in that office, teachers get paid significantly more than what you probably started at. Yeah. But I still think it's not enough for what you actually
not at all.
to experience.
So
yes.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. So I decided to learn about digital marketing. So I interned at a fashion startup doing their social media, basically doing what brands did to me for other companies.
Wow.
So I was sliding into people's DMs saying oh, hey, we love your account. Can we send you this t-shirt? To you want to be a promoter? Do you want to be an ambassador to this? And that's how I learned what goes behind the scenes and what's that relationship between brand and influencer. So then I realized I can, when a brand reaches out to me, I can actually charge them. Yeah. I can actually, hey, look, you want me to wear this tie? Well, this is how much it's going to cost you. Yeah. So when I learned that I can actually do that, I was like, oh,
there's a value there.
There's value here.
There's value there.
Can we put a time period on this? Right. So what year are we talking?
Okay. So I took my teaching break in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, in 2014. And it was about maybe 2 years after that where I decided that I can make money off of this, So
I have a cultural question for you. So you said you are Latinx, right? So where's your family from?
Ecuador. Spanish. I'm sorry, Mom. I talk like a gringo. I'm so sorry. Ecuador.
Okay,
Ecuador,
so how did your Ecuadorian mom feel about you saying, hey, I'm going to leave teaching, which is a stable career, to do this fashion content creating
I'm going to bring you literally to how I broke it to my family.
Please.
It was on my birthday. My birthday's in May. And right before, 1 more month before summer vacation started, and I was going to all right, this is going to be my last month. I'm going to take a break. We were having my birthday dinner at Applebee's. You know, I love Applebee's. Want to work with me? Slide in the DMs. What's up?
Word.
So I was at Applebee's with the family, and I was like, "Yo, mommy, papi, I think I'm not gonna teach next year. You know, I'm gonna try do this Instagram social media marketing thing. I took some classes, and I have an internship coming up. I'm gonna try this out. And you know, honestly, like God bless them. They were like, hey, you know, like." You know, try it out. We trust you. I know it sounds it sounds like not very typical to most other, you know, Latin families, but you know, they figured out. They figured that worst case scenario, go back to teaching. Like, I still have my certificate back then. Like if it doesn't work out, like, the school like really liked me anyway. Like I'm still in connections with the school I taught at.
That's amazing.
And so worst case scenario, I just go back to teaching.
Yeah.
So I've been in that experiment since then. So I haven't gone back to teaching since 2014.
Yeah. So, and the reason I ask for the time period is for us to also think about where social media was
very true.
at that time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we know Facebook. So there's MySpace. There's all these other ones before then, right? But then Facebook came and they kind of revolutionized like social media, right? From there, we see all these Twitter come, Instagram, all these other social media platforms come into play, and then probably several times a year there are new updates now, right? And so how did you stay up to date with the trends, right? So you learned the behind the scenes, you kind of started learning how to leverage social media, but then this new thing happens, right? Where let's say on Instagram, today we have Reels, but before it was like, now you can post stories, right? And like whatever. So how did you stay up to date with those trends?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. You know, I live and breathe it. I know it sounds like really like cliched or anything like that, but like I think about social media all the time. Is that healthy? Probably not. But I listen to podcasts about social media. I go to tech websites and, you know, learn about industry news that's happening, new updates. I follow, now there's content creators for content creators. Like there's content creators who are creating content for content creators, you know?
Yep.
So like there's all these different resources now. But back then it was pretty much just, I was always on Instagram, was always on Twitter, I'm always on whatever social media platform at the time was there. And also just, you know, keeping tabs of other content creators and seeing what they say, and then also just industry news. Like there's tech websites. One of my favorite ones, The Verge. Like back then, like there would be they would have an article about like, oh, Instagram drops new update, or you know, Instagram had an outage last week, or or you know, Instagram introducing hashtags or something. You know what I mean? So I just keep tabs on that, and whenever I learn something new, I always experiment because some people will always say like, oh, you know, how do I get viral? How do I get famous? How do I get whatever? There's nothing. Yeah. Anyone who says they can get you viral is lying. Yep. You know, like that's the fact. You have to literally just hopes and dreams. Yeah. You know, like there was a funny joke back then where like in 2014, 2015 social media, it would be like, all right, if you post at 7:00 in the morning, if you post with 14 characters, if you use 7 hashtags and you use this location, you're going to get a 14% higher engagement rate or some, you know, some stuff like that. That's not true anymore. That's like, it's literally not to say it's random, but none of that matters. Yeah. Everyone's social media is unique to them. Yep. So you have to figure out what's your thing that makes you viral at the end of the day.
Yeah. I love that. I love that because I think especially, you know, even us, right, as we're new in the game in the content creation space still, right? I started paying a lot more attention to my own IG profile and social media profiles to build my own brand for the work that I do outside of the podcast, right? But it's all kind of connected, and it's funny because Kevin and I will post something, and just yesterday
we were talking about this.
We were like, "Yo, we need to just put like 5 hashtags, right? Like, for real, right? Because we used to put back like maybe even a year ago, like a lot more than that. But you also see in trends, people aren't doing that anymore anyway, right? So we're like, all right, what hashtags speak to us? Right, and let's just put
that's wrong
here.
Already. That's already wrong. Yeah, who cares about what you feel, honestly?
Yeah, so this is what we were doing yesterday, just talking about it. But I bring it up to say, right, because like exactly what you're saying, right? It's like we're trying to see what other people are doing and watching, and you know, we're learning, etc. And so we're new to this space, so this is like really helpful even for us in having this conversation.
So I have some questions about that. So how are you able to kind of still be authentic to who you are while also thinking about your output and growing your brand and things like that?
Yeah, the key thing at the end of the day is you have to believe in something. Like you have to, what do you believe in? What's your values? What do you stand for? I'm all about, suits, the Bronx, being Latino, representation. So everything I do has to encompass that. No matter what brand I work with, it has to fit in somehow. So like, for example, you're not going to see me wearing a t-shirt, like that's not on brand, like you're not going to see me like, I don't know, promoting certain type of lifestyles or something because that's just not me. Just be true to yourself, At any time you ever feel like you're posting something that's not true to you, then you've already failed. You've already lost. So whatever I work with, it's always something that I like, or I have to teach my audience that's me anyway. Your audience should not be surprised when you're working with somebody or promoting something. Like if I'm promoting Pokemon, like my audience knows I'm a big Pokemon fan, so it's not going to be weird if I ever posted something like that. If they ever see me rocking, sneakers, they're going to be like, wait a minute, is he okay? Did someone steal the account? Like what happened here? You know
Live from the Bronx hacked his account.
So like that's the important thing. Like you got to stay true to yourself, and then your audience can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to come back to the social media conversation, right? But I want to put a pause on it really quickly because we were talking about suits, right? And we mentioned like the handkerchief, we mentioned the tie clip, and just like the importance of coordination. Only reason I want to come back to this is because I think that there are a lot of men who think that because they have a suit on, they look nice. And I want to take some time, if it's okay with you, really quickly, maybe a couple minutes, just to kind of break this down. What does it mean to put on a suit that fits your body type, right? And there's a lot in that, right? And just understanding how your body is shaped, etc. But also there are rules to like how you put on a suit and how you put on a tie, and like your belt matching, whatever. And there are these unspoken, maybe they're not unspoken, there are rules to this, but I do want to, I feel like I would be doing a disservice to our audience or just the people if we're like, yo, we have Dandy here who knows this stuff, share what you want to share, right? But I think it'll help a lot of men.
I think my biggest thing with suits or any clothing in general is fit. And especially if you're wearing a suit, a 3-piece suit or whatever, is making sure that it actually fits you. And the key thing you have to take advantage of is your local dry cleaner or tailor or someone who's able to like cut it up and sew it, to make it look like it fits you. Key things with, for example, wearing a blazer. When you put it on, if you go to your local Banana Republic or whatever, Southern Boulevard, you go into your local, whatever. When you put on your jacket, make sure you can hug someone. If you can't hug someone, you've already failed already there so far. Also, another thing as well, the sleeve right here. You also want to be showing some cuff. Okay. If you're at any point not showing cuff, then it's either too long or maybe the shirt you're wearing underneath is too short or something. You want to be able to show a little bit there because that shows that it fits you.
Yeah.
So from there, in terms of pants, now for some people who are like old school menswear, like they like to wear different breaks, like if they're not familiar with breaks, it's like how much of the fabric folds on top of your foot, basically. More old school folks might have maybe 1 break or 2 breaks, depending on the amount of time it like hits
some people, 3 breaks. Right?
Hey, look. More modern takes would be 1 break or no break.
Or no break.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of no break. Same. Some old school people might be like, "Yo, what's happening here?" But like that's my thing. That's my choice. Now, sometimes you might be very lucky. You go to your local menswear place, they might have the right size for you. But for me, 99% of the time, I'm gonna have to take it to my local tailor or local dry cleaner to like cut it up and make it fit. So unless you're very, very lucky that your local store has your size, then amazing. If not, then take it to your local store. Of course, you can follow me on Instagram at Dandy in the Bronx. You can slide in my DMs and be like, "Yo, Dandy, does this fit?" And I'll be happy to tell you how bad it fits.
How bad it fits. And even sorry, go ahead, Kev.
No, I was gonna continue the suit conversation. I wanted to ask in terms of like types of suits, right? Does that type of stuff matter, right? Because someone could buy a $150 suit or $1,000 suit.
Okay, that's a really good point actually, because I think a lot of people misconstrue like price equals quality,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it really just depends if it actually fits you. Like you can have a Gucci suit, you can have a suit from Macy's. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. You know what I mean, though? So unless you're going to take it to your local tailor or your dry cleaner, or if it already fits you, then who cares, you know? And I think that's the most important thing, fit.
Yeah, and even like staying up to date with those fashion trends too, right? To your point, with old school folks, how they may want to dress.
Why are you pointing at me when you say old school folks, man? I'm 5 years older than you, bro.
You know, but anyway, like I noticed even today you can wear sneakers, right? A casual sneaker with suits.
Yeah,
right.
no, yeah. Like I think the key thing is figuring out what you even like from an outfit. You know, you can like, I'm not trying to force suits upon people, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, this works for me. This makes me feel good about myself, you know? And if you are wanting to learn more about this, or you want this, make this a part of your lifestyle, then come on in and join.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to be like, yo, like, suits is the only way to go. Get these graphic tees away from me, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I just want to show you what works for me and be able to bring that to your, you know, to your closet, basically.
Yeah.
And to go back to with the sneakers, though, so I do own one pair of white sneakers. I do own these. And, you know, like if you wear, you know, white sneakers with like a navy suit, you know, slacks and, you know, a jacket, maybe wear a black t-shirt, you know, that's a pretty fresh look right there.
Yeah, come on. For more gems, you already know where to go. Tell them your IG real quick.
Dandy in the Bronx.
See? Yeah, but I do appreciate you shedding some light on that, because I remember, again, growing up, I didn't really know how to put a suit on correctly. And I would just think that because I'm wearing this suit, like, oh, I look okay, I look good, right? And the people around me don't help because they're telling me I look nice too.
Well, here's the thing,
right?
though. Like, I don't want to take that away from people because, like, that's a great first step, honestly. You know? Like, the fact that you're trying to, quote unquote, dress better is already amazing. Yeah. And I just want to chisel that to make it into, like, a perfect aesthetic, basically. The fact that you even make an effort, and of course, I'm sure, like, you've been to a baby shower, and then, you know, your friend comes in with the suit, and everyone's like, oh, yo, what's up? You know, I'm sure he looks fine, but I'm sure there's extra things that can be done.
There's another
to
level.
make it, to make it, like, perfect, you know?
Oh, yeah. I think about when I would get dressed up when I was in school, we would go to Fordham Road, we'd go to, like, Portobello.
Yep.
Same.
And we would get, like, whatever shirts were in the little package or whatever, they measure your neck. They had the really big ties that look really stupid now. And looking back, my suits were never fitting well, right? Because it wasn't a conversation that I'd had with anybody.
Yeah, no, and when you put that same thing, like when I was in Cardinal Hayes, thinking about my outfits, my jacket. You know, actually, I still have my blazer from high school. I can fit three of me in that blazer. You know,
exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about accessories too, and we started to a little bit. So for me, there's sometimes some certain things that I don't think that I would be able to kind of pull off. Do you believe that so for example, some people do fedoras, some people don't. Like you seem to be a hat guy. Do you think that there are some accessories that are not for certain people?
I think the key thing is experimentation. There's no such thing as like this doesn't work for somebody. Like you just have to, at the end of the day, clothing, you have to wear the clothing. The clothing doesn't wear you. You know what I mean, though?
Come
So,
on.
you know, like if you're gonna wear a fedora, like make sure it fits you. If you're wearing the right outfit with the fedora. Like I don't want to see you wearing cargo shorts, a black t-shirt, and a fedora, and saying like "milady." I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. You know, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But it's just experimentation. Like I went to social media to learn how to dress myself. Like I was seeing other people that I liked their style, and I was trying to emulate it.
Yeah.
So whatever you want to be doing, if you want to do fedoras, then go on Instagram and type in fedora and see other guys wearing them and saying, okay, I like that, I don't like that. I want to copy this, I don't want to copy this, and figure out what's your personal style. I don't want to impose certain aesthetics. Of course, if you want me, I will happily dress you. But but the key thing is you have to feel comfortable in what you're wearing. And if you're not feeling comfortable, then
It's not going to work
it
anyway.
doesn't mean anything then.
And I got to give Kevin some props here too, because just yesterday, right, he had on an outfit that, like, me and the homies were like, yo, Kev would never, really dress. And he looked nice, he looked nice. He was killing it. But it was a step in a different direction, right, for Kev from what he would usually throw on.
That's a really valid point. Will you get roasted by your friends? Mayhaps,
All the
you know.
time,
But like
yeah.
I went through that stage as well, you know. Like when I started wearing suits, when I come to the party, you know, like wearing a suit or something. When I come to the show, to the dive bar wearing a suit, you know. Of course, there was some adjustment periods. Like who's this guy? What is he doing here? You know what I mean? But then it just became me. It just became my aesthetic. It's not weird. You know what I mean? Though, like no one's gonna roast me anymore because like that's just Diego.
you,
That's
yeah.
just me. You know.
So I have a question about that, right? So this is Diego. This is Dandy in the Bronx.
Yeah.
This is who you are. What if you're going to something casual? What if you're going
What's
to
casual? What?
like the okay? What? All right, cool.
What?
So I'll refine my question. What if you're going to the supermarket or something like that? Do you feel like you always have to be dressed up because you've
I don't understand this question. I do not understand this question. Honestly, what I've made part of my lifestyle is I just don't have casual clothing anymore at this point. You know, like I have gym clothes. I go to the gym, and that's pretty much it. Honestly,
wow.
So like, if I am gonna go to the supermarket, then I wear my gym clothes, I guess. But like, but yeah, like
This is it.
Yeah, because like also that's just part of also I want to live like more minimalistically, have less things. So like, it's a suit. Or I'm gonna work out.
Yeah.
Or like it's a variation of the suit. Maybe I'll wear a sweater vest or wear a turtleneck instead. That's my casual. Wearing a turtleneck instead or something like along those lines.
What about the summertime? Like
I have linen suits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, linen
So it's not as
seersucker
bad.
suits.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
just lighter fabrics. You
Yeah.
know, so there are fabrics for every situation.
Yeah,
You know.
it's true. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so let's fast forward. Kind of come back to where we were with the social media piece. So now we have Diego, Dandy, right? Who knows how to dress, right? You understand just the suit game, the accessories, etc. You're starting to understand social media. You spoke a little bit about a brand that sent you a tie. What was your first experience like when you actually struck a deal with a brand where you felt really good about it? How did this come about? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so the first time ever where I was able to get paid for something.
Yeah.
I remember I remember exactly where I was sitting and everything that happened. So I was working at a food startup. Doing their social media influencer marketing at the time. I got an email from this brand that made belts, and they were like, "Hey, we'd love to send you a belt, in exchange for a social media post." And I was like, "All right, let me try to finagle something out of this." So back then, I was like, "Hey, that sounds amazing. I would love to help create content for your belt." And I was like, "All right, well, if you want this many pictures, you want this many stories, you want this many tweets, here are different prices I can charge." Now back then, I was like, "Oh, $50." You know what I mean? Like I was like, let me just see what happens here.
Yeah.
And then they accepted my price.
Wow.
And I was like, "Oh." And I was imagining, I was like, "Oh man, if I did this X time, I can quit my job if I do this X times a month. If I like did this, like all these like ideas are coming through my mind. Like, I can live off of this technically if I'm able to like accumulate this many deals per month." And after that, I was like, "All right, let me just keep trying. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
They say no, or they have no budget, or whatever. So I've been just living that way since then."
Yeah. That's awesome. So do you find, so we were talking to another content creator recently on our previous episode that'll be coming out soon, and she was just talking about the hustle behind like the work, right? It's like the content creation, the brand, living off of this, right, as a career. Do you find that you're often like getting up in the morning, like is the hustle, what's the hustle like? What's that experience like trying to strike these deals with brands? Or are you somewhere today where like it's just like an organic thing that continues to happen?
Yeah, I think that the word hustle has a very negative connotation nowadays because they like it's like, oh, it's, sleep, what's the word, like eat, sleep, repeat, that type of stuff, like, and I don't
sleep
really,
when I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't really subscribe to that idea, honestly. I found something that I was passionate about and something that I have fun doing, and I wake up in the morning, I try to work out, and then I just go through emails, and I have meetings like this, going to events, going to Manhattan or something, or going around the Bronx, making content. And as long as I know that I'm, setting my goals or like, paying the bills, so to speak, then I'm pretty much fine, honestly. it's just trying to find that balance where like I'm happy with what I'm creating, and plus what I'm creating could also pay the bills, which is the balance, you know.
Question for you. So you were very intentional about putting Bronx in your marketing, like in your brand, as part of your brand. Why was that so important to you?
Yeah, so, you know, I could easily named my account just, you know, Dandy or like Dandy New York, or I could have named, you know, whatever. But when I first started doing this in 2014, I did, once again, representation. I didn't see a lot of people like me, you know. I didn't see a lot of people doing this, especially in the Bronx. Everyone was from Manhattan, everyone's from Brooklyn doing this. And I was like, oh, let me just, you know, put the Bronx. The Bronx has a lot of cool things happening, and I want to be able to showcase this. I don't see any other content creators coming to the Bronx to take pictures or anything like that, you know? Like, we have amazing architecture, amazing graffiti, amazing artwork, amazing places that are not being utilized. Yeah. Perfect for me, you know what I mean? Perfect for me. And
there's some of everything in the Bronx. Like, you have the concrete jungle, but you also have like places like Wave Hill and just all of these. You can get whatever you need.
Yeah, you know, Van Cortlandt and all that stuff. Park, and I think a lot of people don't see that because, of course, they have negative, you know, ideas about the Bronx. So it's like, this is perfect. I'm a dandy in the Bronx, and let me show you about my cool neighborhood, and plus, you know, the juxtaposition of myself, my aesthetic with the Bronx, because of course when you think the Bronx, you know, you think streetwear, you think, you know, you think hype beast, you think that aesthetic, you know, so I feel like that juxtaposition I really want to emphasize as well. A thing that also inspired me was a lot of people who, you know, the guys who go to, you know, to the Baptist churches, you know, wearing the suits and stuff like that, you know, where I lived right across the street was a Baptist church. And I remember every Sunday, you know, seeing those guys come in super duper fly, you know, crazy suits and stuff like that. So there are people wearing suits in the Bronx, but is there anyone putting them on pedestals? No. So
I love it. Can we continue this conversation about the Bronx? When we first spoke, I don't know, maybe a week or two ago, we were talking about the Bronx and some of the changes that are now happening, right? So we see, we just elevated a lot of what you were just sharing about the dopeness in the Bronx, right? But that people didn't see. Now we're starting to see, I mean, we still have a negative reputation, but now we're starting to see changes in the Bronx, right? Gentrification, restaurants and stuff coming in, etc. And how do you feel, right? Like, it sounds like you're somebody who's real authentic to the Bronx, grew up here, knows the culture, etc., right? Similarly to us. And we have a lot of conversations around these changes. And so, like, what are your just general thoughts about this?
You know, it's tough because, like, I remember what happened to Brooklyn, and I remember when people would tell me, like, yo, come to Brooklyn, there's a party there. So I don't want to get shot. Like, I had that negative representation of Brooklyn back then, and like, that's Carajo land, that's like a million miles. Why would I want to go to Brooklyn? But like, now everyone and their mom wants to go to Brooklyn, you know, and theoretically the Bronx is closer than Brooklyn, but people still want to go to Brooklyn to do stuff. So when I saw that change in Brooklyn, it went super duper fast. It was like a year, and then, like, it was completely obliterated. It was like a different planet, Brooklyn. And I was like, is that going to happen to the Bronx? Is that going to happen here? You know? So this is,
were you thinking this prior to the changes happening?
Yeah, exactly. This is back when I was scared of Brooklyn.
Got it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Brooklyn's soft.
So we're talking like 10 years.
You heard it here first.
Like 10 years ago.
Yeah. So, like, I was like, oh man, is this going to... I saw what happened to Brooklyn. Is this going to happen to us, basically? Yeah. So that's why I made even more of an effort to be like Dandy in the Bronx, because, like, I want to make sure that we have to control our own narrative before it's too late, you know? Yes. And I think we're doing a pretty good job, honestly, because, like, what happened to Brooklyn happened overnight.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're still trying to do it to the Bronx right now. They're still trying so hard. And I think, honestly, if we start here, keep building, you know, and we're still all working together, trying to, like, at least direct the culture or whatever, we have a good shot, you know, because, like, obviously at the end of the day, capitalism, baby, like, it's you know, like, it's that's what it is. But can we at least navigate the story? Can we at least navigate where things are happening, you know? Because like, at the end of the day, that's still where we live. You know what I mean? Are they gonna kick us out to New Jersey? Like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
And that's why stories like yours are important, and that's kind of why our podcast is important. And that's why we need to continue to highlight. Shout out to Live from the Bronx. That's why we need to continue to highlight stories like yours.
Yeah, and also, I wonder, right? Because I think about, this happened in Harlem, this happened in Lower East Side, this happened in Queens, right? It happened in Brooklyn, it's happening here now. What you're saying is something that I've noticed too, is that folks are still holding on to the culture, right? Even through some of the changes in gentrification that's happening, and they're really, like, folks like yourself, folks like us, folks like other people, they're really still trying to control their narrative, and they are. But like, why do you think that's working? Like, how?
You know, it's a very, I think that's the key thing, that, you know, we're still here. And like, obviously, I can't speak for Brooklyn. I can't speak for any other boroughs in the other neighborhoods. But I think we just like are sticking to our guns. Basically, we're just like still here and still creating, because like we can just leave and then, you know, like everything just will change overnight, instantly. And I'm not just saying that other places, you know, didn't do it as hard or whatever, or maybe it's just a different ideology or something along those lines. I can't speak towards that, but I still see a lot of people of color starting businesses here.
Yes.
You know, I still see guys like y'all, you know, trying to create content here in the Bronx, because easily you could just go to Manhattan and do this. You can go anywhere else and do this, but you chose to stay here and keep doing that. And like, same thing with me. Like, I could have been Dandy in New York. I could have been Dandy in Carajo Land or whatever, you know, but I wanted to build here because I felt like this was a story worth telling.
That's a dope sound.
Yeah. I feel like period. We don't. I don't know. Show over.
Super dope soundbite. So obviously your brand is menswear, but you also do some cool stuff on Twitch and things like that. So tell us about what else, other things that you do.
Yeah, so like I definitely, my whole brand is like menswear, suiting, you know, being able to inspire other people wearing suits. But then, as with any other social media platform, you want to evolve, you want to change, you want to sprinkle some personality in there. And as I mentioned before, like, I'm a big nerd. I love Pokemon, I love Magic the Gathering, Dungeons and Dragons, all that stuff right there. So I've been trying to sprinkle that type of content, you know, in my social media. So for example, I started doing more Twitch content. So I host a Twitch show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, you know, I play Pokemon and I like talk to my audience. You know, I also have, it's almost like open office hours. I have to invite people come in. They can ask me questions about social media or about fashion or whatever, or just, you know, like knock back and just, you know, hang out and just play Pokemon. Other things as well, just working with also tech brands as well. Like I love, you know, I have my gaming PC and like, you know, building stuff like that. So I did a collaboration with Logitech a while back. So like those things, while not menswear, is still on brand with what I do. So my audience knows that I am all about that. So they're not surprised when they're like, oh, why is he, you know, talking about webcams, or what is he talking about mouses or something like that. I've taught my audience that this is all a part of me. So that's also a key thing too.
Do you feel that people check in for different things, or do you feel like there's a lot of crossover?
Oh, no, definitely. A lot of people check in with a lot of different things. I think a lot of people need to understand that your audience is not going to be 100% of everything you do.
Yes.
You know? So like, it's okay to lose followers. It's okay to have a quote unquote bad post. You know, like you're not
Thank you for saying
everything.
the losing followers thing, because I get annoyed. I'm like, why is there one less follower?
Yeah, no, I lose followers all the time, you know? And it's good. Actually, that's good. Because they don't want to be part of this.
Yep.
Why would you want to keep that person anyway? You know, like why? Like I'm glad when sometimes I'm glad, of course, but like it's good when you lose followers, because those people were not on board anyway. Why would you want a ghost follower, or someone who's just going to be there and just linger? Because that's a waste of a spot there. So I've taught my audience like who I am, what you're in store for, and that there's no surprises, basically. You know, so like if I'm gonna do a post about Encanto, like the Disney movie, no one thinks like, what is this? They're not confused because they know that I'm like into that. Or like if I do a post about like musicals, like or something like that, like that's not weird because I've taught my audience that this is what that's part of who I am. They see Pokemon or whatever, like they know like, okay, this is not crazy stuff that's happening here. But if they see sneakers, they know that something wrong is happening. Like I got kidnapped or something. But like
Encanto was excellent, by the way. My wife made me watch it.
So it's really good.
It.
Yo, Encanto, what's up? Call me Disney. What's up?
We don't talk about Bruno.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. But like you have to also, that's work on your part to cultivate your brand, your audience, to like, so I know what I'm in for. You know, there's influencers I follow that I've unfollowed, or that I've put on mute because their message no longer resonates with me anymore. And I think that you should feel comfortable unfollowing people. You should feel comfortable with muting people, because remember, social media, Instagram, whatever social media platform you use, you're supposed to have a good time.
Yes.
If you're not having a good time, then what's the point? You know, you're doing it wrong. Like if I'm not getting positive energy from your content, I'm gonna unfollow you. And if I'm not giving you positive energy, then unfollow me, because I wanna. That's my whole job. If I fail at that job, then feel free to unfollow me.
Makes sense. So what's next for Dandy in the Bronx?
Pretty much just building on top of this. Maybe merch down the line. I do a lot of consulting work as well. I've been working with some, talking behind the scenes with some companies to make some, specific blazers coming down the line. Who knows, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, and then also building up the live component, like the live streaming, the Twitch, stuff like that. Interviewing people just like yourselves. I like talking to people, and just trying to.
We would love to come on
engagement.
one of your shows, by the way.
Oh,
so if
yeah,
you want to have
of
Live from
course.
the Bronx, we're there.
Please, that'd be amazing. And just trying to, I want to do more live events as well. Since the pandemic, a lot of things were like put on the back burner for a while. So I have all these collaborations that were like literally right on the cusp until like the pandemic happened. So hopefully I can bring those back into light very, very soon. And now like there's like cafe places open. All these breweries are opening up. Obviously doing it safe, of course, and just trying to bring that bring working back with other people again.
Yeah. So there are two things before we start to wrap up. One, what advice do you have for someone who is interested in becoming an influencer, content creator, maybe even like following your career path in fashion?
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is you have to find something that you actually care about or something that you're passionate about. You don't just like, I want to be a content creator. I want to be an influencer. Like that's a loaded term. That's BS. Like, what do you care about? Maybe you're a big. Let's pretend you love Tupperware. Yeah. You love Tupperware, so I want to. You need to be talking about Tupperware all the time. You need to be like, tell me the top 10 best Tupperwares. Give me some Tupperware strategies. How do I make sure I don't get spaghetti stains in the Tupperware? Like you need to be knowledgeable in that thing. For me, it's like suits and talking about social media right now. So if you maybe you love caps, maybe you know all the best caps. You have vintage cap collection. Be passionate about something, first of all. Then creating content surrounding it, So then writing like, okay, here's an article about, New Era, or maybe here's an article about why Glad is the best Tupperware. I don't know about that, but like, you know what I mean though? But like, you have to be knowledgeable and care about something and make that part of your niche. You have to have a niche. Social media, sadly, puts everyone into a category. So you being a jack of all trades is actually a negative thing. Yeah. You want to really zero focus on something specifically. So my niche is men's fashion. So all my content is men's fashion. So now the algorithm, or whatever you want to call it, knows that people who like that stuff might like my content. Yep. So you have to figure out what's going to be your niche and then talk about it, obviously.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
So Dandy, thank you for that. So if you like what you heard, if you like the advice, if you liked all of the tips in terms of menswear and all the things that Dandy, aka Diego, is doing, right? Definitely you could check him out at the Bronx Summit, happening Friday, May 13th. More information to follow in terms of location and all of these things, but we have some real heavy hitters, as you can see. It's going to be dope. So before we let you go, there's a game that we like to play with all of our guests.
Oh, snap.
And we didn't prepare him for this, so it is off the cuff. The funny thing about Rapid Fire, and I say it every episode, I don't even know what the questions are. So the way it's going to work is Jason, to my right, is going to ask Diego, to my left, 5 questions, right? Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to answer the questions as fast as you can with the first word or words that come to mind.
Okay.
All right? Jason, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Dandy, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get it.
First question. All-time favorite fashion designer?
I wear custom.
All-time favorite music album? Any genre?
Lady Gaga, Fame Monster.
All-time favorite shoe brand?
Custom.
Favorite restaurant to eat in the Bronx?
Ooh. Empanology, and with some Bronx Brewery on the side.
Yes, shout out to them. If someone was coming to visit you for the first time who was not from the Bronx, where's the first place you're going to take them?
Usually, I back to Empanology, because I usually show off that place first, honestly. But I actually have not been to that new chocolate place at all. I have not been there yet, so I got to check that out as well.
Okay. One word to describe Dandy.
Dandy? What? Like?
He's like, it's already not.
Yeah,
it's already
we
not.
need another one. Awesome. So that wasn't too bad, right? A little
That was
fun in
rapid
there.
fire.
We like to jazz it up a little bit and stay on brand, right?
Same brand. Very, very important.
Custom.
Yeah,
everything.
I think that the most important thing is like once you realize like a lot of things don't fit you anymore, going custom is usually the way to go, honestly. Because like there are some places where I can get off the rack and it fits fine, honestly. But there's sometimes I want something that's very specific, and you might, depending on where you go, obviously you might pay a little bit more. But think about it this way: if you're gonna go buy something and get it tailored, then
What's the difference?
We're
Exactly.
spending more money on it anyway.
Exactly. So I always tell people like especially if you have like a different type of body shape, or like if you go to your local store and you're like this doesn't work, just get it custom. Honestly, it just makes life easier, and plus it's unique.
Yeah.
Thank you for that so much. So if you don't mind, if you could just throw out your social media for people who want to follow you. You've been sprinkling it throughout the episode because you are a professional, but one more time for the people, please.
So you can follow me on Instagram at Dandy in the Bronx. You can also follow me on Pinterest at Dandy in the Bronx. And if you want to see some more of my nerdy content, on YouTube, Dandy in the Bronx, and on Twitch TV/Dandy in the Bronx.
Love it. Jay, throw out our social media for me, please.
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Live from the Bronx, and YouTube as well, Live from the Bronx. You can also follow us on Twitter at Live from the BX. You can check out our website at www.livefromthebronx.com. Also, shoot us an email. Let us know who you want to see on the show. Let us know what you're thinking. That's info@livefromthebronx.com.
Another one. Out.
Boom.